What's up, everybody? There's been news that Henry Cavill has accepted an offer to play a significant new character in the Marvel Universe. Many of you have suggested him for various roles such as Sentry, Hyperion, and Captain Britain, so I'm sure there are many questions. It seems that he is more open to new opportunities now compared to before. He has expressed interest in joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the past. We'll discuss this in detail, as DC's loss appears to be Marvel's gain. If you're new here, remember to subscribe for upcoming videos. You might have seen the recent news about Henry Cavill joining Marvel to play a secret character, which appears to be a version of Captain Britain. He had previously talked about his interest in playing Captain Britain in the Marvel Universe before he was replaced as Superman in the DC movies. It's ironic that he's now been offered and accepted this role. He has mentioned that playing Captain Britain would be a lot of fun, especially if it's a modernized version like Captain America. At the time of his interview about Captain Britain, he was likely expressing his willingness to explore any opportunities in the Marvel Universe if he was available. However, a couple of years later, James Gunn was hired by Warner Brothers to revitalize the DC Universe. He plans to completely revamp the main Justice League actors, including Superman. Normally, Marvel and DC wouldn't usually have an issue with actors working on movies for competing brands, especially for minor characters or voiceover roles. However, this is different because it involves major A-list characters like Superman. He's considering a modern-day adaptation of Captain Britain, similar to his roles in Man from U.N.C.L.E. and the Mission Impossible movies, with a hyperkinetic action style. This would involve him wielding a sword, which recalls his previous performances as a British lord in The Tudors and as Geralt in The Witcher on Netflix. It's interesting that he's moving on from The Witcher to his own Warhammer series and movies, which seems like a positive change for him. Warhammer is a completely different genre that doesn't compete with Marvel, so there's no conflict between his involvement with Warhammer and Marvel projects. When he mentions modernizing the character of Captain Britain, it's worth noting that the main version of Captain Britain, Brian Braddock, was created in the 1970s and had many adventures tied to major pop culture events of that era. In the movie Avengers Endgame, there is an Easter egg referencing Captain Britain when Captain America visits Peggy Carter's field office in the 1970s. Peggy mentions Agent Braddock, a nod to Brian Braddock, who later becomes Captain Britain. It's important to note that Captain Britain is not just a British version of Captain America. He has a different backstory and is not a man out of time like Captain America. There is also a reference to a multiverse version of Peggy Carter as Captain Britain in the What If episodes, but the portrayal leans more towards Captain America wearing a Captain Britain costume. Despite being a missed opportunity for cool Easter eggs, Captain Britain's backstory has connections to the Eternals movie and shares similarities with Dane Whitman's Black Knight backstory, who will be played by Kit Harington in the Marvel Universe. It heavily incorporates King Arthur mythology, British legends, magic, and characters like Merlin traveling through time and the multiverse. In the Eternals movie, there are significant plot points related to the Black Knight. When the Eternals return to their spaceship in present day, they find that Makari has been living there for centuries, collecting artifacts from history, including a sword that sparks memories of Camelot and the Knights of the Round Table. This sword, initially thought to be the Ebony Blade, is revealed to be Excalibur, linking the legends of King Arthur to real historical events in the Marvel Universe. This also connects to Doctor Strange, as Merlin was the Sorcerer Supreme of his era. Additionally, while the Black Knight wields the Ebony Blade, Captain Britain wields Excalibur for a brief period, and both swords are seen in the Eternals movie. This creates an intriguing connection between Marvel and legendary tales. Captain Britain's primary weapons are the Amulet of Right and the Sword of Might. Similar to Kit Harington's character, Dane Whitman, the Black Knight, Brian Braddock, also known as Captain Britain, hails from a prestigious British lineage with roots tracing back to the Middle Ages. When a new Captain Britain is chosen, Merlin and his daughter Roma present the candidate with a choice between the amulet and the sword, serving as a test of character akin to the Holy Grail test in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The amulet represents the path of reason, while the sword symbolizes the path of violence. Although both the amulet and the sword are formidable, Captain Britain's powers are primarily derived from interdimensional energies concentrated around the British Isles and the mystical realm of Avalon, where Merlin resides. His costume acts as a conduit for this magical energy, granting him enhanced strength, stamina, durability, speed, and a limited ability to fly. This sets him apart from the Black Knight, whose powers stem solely from the blade. In Marvel's Phase 5 and Phase 6, multiverse themes play a significant role. The introduction of Deadpool and Wolverine, along with the TV from Loki Season 2, signals a shift towards exploring various universes, including the incorporation of X-Men characters from Fox Marvel. The Captain Britain stories, particularly the recent ones, also heavily involve multiverse elements. For those feeling fatigued by the prolonged use of multiverse tropes, Deadpool is poised to mark the beginning of change, as hinted in the trailer for the character's upcoming movie. This signals a reboot for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There were previous rumors about the introduction of a version of Captain Britain in the post-Avengers Endgame movies, suggesting a continued exploration of multiverse concepts in Marvel. The current plan seems to involve introducing Kit Harington's Black Knight character as a precursor to delving into Marvel's mystical fantasy stories. The goal is to establish a balance between the mystical, fantasy-based elements and the modern-day setting, ultimately integrating characters like the Black Knight with the Avengers without it feeling out of place. This approach sets the stage for the potential exploration of more fantasy-based characters within the Marvel canon. A Disney Plus series centered around Kit Harington's Black Knight character is also anticipated, offering an opportunity to expand on the King Arthur mythology and backstory alluded to in the Eternals movie. Additionally, the series could introduce Marvel's Merlin and provide insight into the history of the Ebony Blade, as well as the connection between the Eternals and other mystical elements. The premise hinges on Merlin's role as the Sorcerer Supreme of his era, positioning him as a knowledgeable figure capable of understanding the Eternals' non-human nature. Even if King Arthur was unaware of the Eternals, it's likely that Merlin had knowledge of their existence. Marvel recently revealed plans to incorporate Kit Harington's Black Knight and Emilia Clarke's Gaia from Secret Invasion into a British Excalibur-themed team within the MCU, akin to a British version of the Avengers. This may involve Sonya Falls playing a British Nick Fury equivalent. The potential inclusion of Henry Cavill as a version of Captain Britain in this new Excalibur series could offer a Game of Thrones reunion for Clarke and Harington. Additionally, there have been rumors about Henry Cavill's involvement in Marvel, with some speculating his role as Sentry or Hyperion. However, Marvel has reportedly cast Lewis Pullman as Sentry in the Thunderbolts movie. There's also consideration for redefining the Marvel's portrayal of Sentry. While Hyperion would be appealing, it's unlikely that Cavill wants to be typecast as a character similar to Superman, given his prior role. This speculation adds an interesting layer to the potential character dynamics within the Marvel Universe. That character shares similarities with Hyperion in the Marvel Universe. There's potential for him to appear in Eternals 2, especially given the search for other Eternals in the universe during the post-credits scene. Hyperion was part of a different group of Eternals on another planet, and his backstory and arrival on Earth are reminiscent of a parody of Superman's origin story in the DC universe. His claims of being an alien from a destroyed planet, when in reality it was a result of an emergence with a celestial being born, mirrors Superman's backstory. Although Marvel has utilized Hyperion's character in animated series, the possibility of introducing a version of Squadron Supreme remains open. However, it's unlikely that Henry Cavill would want to take on a role resembling Superman, making it doubtful that he would portray Hyperion. Speculation about Cavill's role in the Marvel Universe continues. And if there are further developments related to the Excalibur TV show, I will provide more insights in future videos. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please consider liking and subscribing for similar content. Your support is greatly appreciated. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you in the next video.